In today's video, I'm going to be talking all about the planet Mercury in the natal chart, and I'll be going through each sign that Mercury could fall in your natal chart and explaining what this will mean for you in terms of your personality and life experiences. So if you're interested in astrology or just curious to learn more about the planet Mercury and how this placement could play out for you in your life, then just keep watching. My name's Emma, and if you're new here, welcome to my channel, and if not, welcome back to my channel. I am an evolutionary astrologer, so I help people to gain a deeper awareness and understanding of themselves so they're able to really grow and progress in their life and on their spiritual path and journey. So on my channel, I talk all about astrology and spirituality. Make sure that you subscribe and hit the bell button so you don't miss any of my videos. I have 4 videos a week for you, so you don't want to miss them. Okay, so let's get into the video. So first, before I get into each individual placement, I just want to explain what Mercury is in the natal chart and what it represents. So Mercury represents how you communicate. It is your speech, how you speak, how you get your point across. It represents your logical mind, how you think about things, your approach to learning, your preferred style of learning. So those are the types of energies that we're dealing with when we are focusing on Mercury. So how you approach that area of life is going to differ depending on which sign is falling in the planet Mercury. So we also have to be mindful here that we're only looking at one placement in the natal chart. Astrology is very complex. There are many layers to it. So you could have your placement of Mercury in a specific sign, but then you have these harsh aspects that completely contradict that placement. So we want to just recognize that this is just one placement. We're only talking about one thing here. And if something doesn't resonate, it's probably because you have a lot of other energy going on. We have to put everything together and read it in full when we really want to understand the layers of a person, because we are complex beings. We have a bunch of layers to ourselves. So we can't just look at one specific aspect, but I have to teach these aspects in parts because that's how you're going to learn how to put it together yourself. So I'm going to leave the timestamps down below so you can go right now and find the timestamp of your specific placement and just skip to that part of the video. Okay, Mercury in Aries. So the planet Mercury is the planet of communication and your preferred style of learning, your speech, your analytical, rational mind. And Aries is really all about competition, aggression, having that impulsive energy, that bluntness, and since Aries is ruled by the planet Mars, really feeling like you have to fight to assert yourself and defend your position and fight to get what you want in some sort of way. So this is a really strong energy that is going into the planet Mercury. So when we find someone who has their Mercury in the sign of Aries, this person is, unless there's other energies going on, unless there's other aspects that contradict this person is going to be very blunt and straightforward with how they speak. So their speech is going to be very upfront, straightforward, to the point. They are going to be more impulsive with their speech because Aries is very impulsive. So these people are not really going to think so much before they speak. They'll kind of just say what's on their mind. And this could hurt people's feelings a little bit. They don't mean any harm by it. They're not trying to be rude or be hurtful. It's just they will have the tendency to speak before they think about it. And for more sensitive people and signs, this could come off as a bit too blunt and in your face and inconsiderate in a way. But they really don't mean any harm by it at all. Since Mars is a very aggressive planet, and that's the planet that rules Aries, we could see that these people they could feel like they have to defend themselves in some way with their speech, how they communicate. We could see that they could have a tendency to be more aggressive with how they talk and how they communicate, and they could really feel like they need to defend themselves, and they could be quick to verbally attack people. If they're upset, if they feel like they are backed into a corner, we can see them have this very sharp and cutting way about their words. These people are you're not going to wonder how they feel on a certain matter. They are going to be very direct and upfront, and they're going to tell you exactly how they feel. They're going to be straightforward. They could have a tendency to get maybe in some verbal debates, because Aries is all about competition. They could really feel like they need to assert themselves and assert their opinion, and really put their opinion into every scenario and have that be heard. Since Aries is the sign of the self, that they'll really have to make sure that they are heard and their voice and their opinion is heard, and that is going to be something that they make sure happens. So they could get into debates, but pretty much they are just very blunt, direct, straightforward, and you'll know how they feel, where they stand, what they think, and there's not really going to be any questions there with that. So that's pretty much the basic general feel of Mercury in Aries. With Mercury in Taurus, Mercury is the planet of communication, speech, your rational mind, your logical mind, your preferred style of learning, how you learn, and Taurus is the sign that is ruled by the planet Venus, and Venus is all about beauty, luxury, the beauties of life, art, culture, fine dining. Taurus is a very stable sign, a stable energy, and it's also representing your self-worth and earned income. So when we have the sign of Taurus coming into the planet Mercury, this person is usually going to have a very calming and soothing voice to them, because Taurus is ruled by Venus, the planet of beauty, and Mercury is your speech, how you communicate. So this person is usually going to have a very calming, very soothing and comforting voice, maybe more soft-spoken. These people usually enjoy singing, because Mercury is about communication, your speech, your voice, and Taurus is ruled by Venus, beauty. So these people could have a very good singing voice, and even if their singing voice is not the best, they will tend to enjoy singing, and they'll tend to really enjoy music and the arts, and they'll just have this calming way that they express themselves. And these people are going to be more practical and grounded, so they're not going to be as impulsive with how they communicate. They are going to reflect and think more about how they feel about a certain situation or idea before they really speak on it. They are going to make sure that they're really viewing it in a grounded, rational way before they voice their opinion. But then once they do form their opinion and beliefs, they're going to be more stubborn about their beliefs and their thoughts and how they communicate them. Because Taurus is a fixed sign, and it's the sign represented by the bull, so there's this stubborn energy. So that stubbornness is going to come across with how you communicate your beliefs and your ideas. But this person is going to be have a much more rational and grounded approach to how they learn, to how they approach their ideas and their communication, and they're not going to be the type of person who's going to be overly dramatic with how they express themselves. You're not really going to see them getting all crazy and yelling and screaming and are just crying with how they express themselves. They can get to that point, but typically they're more composed with how they express themselves. but they're really going to enjoy learning more about the arts and areas of life that they can find beauty in, and that creativity, and those sorts of areas are going to likely be of interest to them. Now, since Taurus is also about earned income, these people could also have an interest in money and finance. They could have a more money type of mindset where they're focused on finances and like a more mathematical type of mind. Because when you're putting in the sign of earned income into the planet of the analytical area and preferred methods of learning, we could find this as well. So it's like these two different types of people. We could see some people who are much more art-minded and that sort of beauty type of minded, or people who are really interested in talking about more of that analytical stuff like finances, money, and have that more rational analytical type of interests. So it just depends, and it all also depends on the house that your Mercury is in and any aspects that are being made to Mercury and the other aspects in your chart overall. And so we're just looking at this one specific placement. So but yeah, that's pretty much the general feel of Mercury in the sign of Taurus. When Mercury is in the sign of Gemini, this is a very comfortable position for Mercury to be in because Gemini is naturally ruled by the planet Mercury. So Mercury is all about communication, your speech, your preferred style and method of learning, your more logical, analytical mind. And Gemini is all about communication, all about the speech and learning and mental stimulation. So it's the same themes because Mercury is ruling Gemini. So this is a placement where you can really thrive here with this position of Mercury. So these people are usually going to be good communicators. They are really going to enjoy communicating. They're really going to enjoy that mental stimulation. They really are going to want to exchange ideas with others. They really are going to want to express themselves and get in those mentally stimulating types of conversations where they can learn from other people and other people can learn from them. They can have that back and forth exchange. That's going to be very stimulating to them. They are really going to want to research and understand these new ideas and have a very curious mind and always be wanting to learn new things and talk about them with people. Now, these people, since Gemini loves to talk and it's in the planet of communication here in Mercury, these people could, because they're so curious and because they love to talk, this could make them more prone to gossiping, just because they're so curious, getting into other people's business and talking about it. So that's just something to be mindful of, that can happen. But overall, they just really have a very curious mind. They really love to learn. They love to exchange ideas. They need that mental stimulation. So in their close relationships, in their friendships, in their romantic relationships, they need to be mentally stimulated, so they need to bounce their ideas off of other people, and they really want to talk about their ideas and new information that they've learned, and they want to learn from you too. So that'll be important for you if you have this placement. These people are usually great writers. Writing as a form of communication. Also, they would be great in media, like on a podcast or something where they're able to communicate and get their ideas and their voice out in that sort of way is an area that they thrive in. So that's basically the general feel of Mercury and Gemini. But remember, we have to consider all of the placements in your chart. So this could change if you have a house that's very different than this energy in your Mercury, or different aspects that are going on in your chart that will complicate this more. But with just considering this one specific aspect, this is what we will typically find. When we're talking about Mercury in Cancer, Cancer is the sign that's really all about emotion, sensitivity, that motherly nature, that nurturing energy. It's really all about that comfort and those emotions, really being in tune with your emotions. So when we have Cancer coming into the planet Mercury, this is a very different energy, and it's going to be a little bit more challenging because Mercury is the planet all about communication and the logical mind, the more analytical mind, the more rational type of approach to things. So when we have the sign of Cancer, the sign of emotions and sensitivity, going into the planet of the logical mind, it's not as comfortable here. There is going to be more challenges. So if you have this position, this placement, then you could feel like it's harder to express yourself in a way that is more rational and logic based. You could really react and speak through your emotions a lot more frequently than other people. You could really be reactive through your emotions without really thinking things through and really observing the situation from a non-attached type of way. So you're going to be more sensitive, and how you communicate with others will most likely be more passive. You'll probably be more shy with how you communicate and more timid with how you speak, when you speak. You'll really probably observe the energy of the room or the people that you're around before you really speak your opinion, because first of all, you don't want to offend anyone because you're so in tune with your emotions. You don't want to say the wrong thing and hurt anyone's feelings. And there's this sense of needing to feel accepted in some way. Being more cautious with how you voice your opinions and how your voice is heard. So there will be more of a tendency to be more shy, more passive. And this could create a victim type of mentality, because since you don't feel as comfortable really directly voicing your feelings and your opinions, this could cause you to really build up maybe a sense of resentment because the people around you don't clearly know how you feel. And since you're so in tune with your emotions, you want other people to just be able to emotionally pick up on how you feel. You don't want to have to always verbally communicate and express yourself in that way. But this could cause some conflicts because if other people are not similar to you in that, then there could be a lot of miscommunications where they don't understand how you're feeling and they don't know that you're upset, or they don't know how you're feeling about a certain thing. And because you're not as open to communicate it in a direct way, then you could feel resentment for these people and these situations. So that's something to be mindful of. But overall, these people are much more sensitive, much more careful, and just aware of their words, how they communicate, what they say. And they are going to be more emotionally reactive with their words. But we have to consider everything in the whole chart. This is just one tiny placement in the whole chart. So this could change based off of the house that your Mercury is in, or any aspects being made to Mercury. So we have to be mindful of that as well. And the sign of Leo is coming into the planet Mercury. This is a placement where a person is going to really have a strong presence in how they communicate. Leo is a sign that's all about creativity, passion, confidence, directness, and really wanting to shine, because Leo is ruled by the sun, really wanting to take center stage and being that person that is getting all of this attention. And Mercury is the planet all about communication, how you communicate, your speech, your preferred method of learning, your more analytical, logical mind. So when we see a person with this placement, this person is usually going to naturally just command attention when they speak. So it's something that they won't even have to consciously do. These will be the people where they talk and you just listen. They talk and they have this presence about them that is so strong that you're just drawn in. These people are usually going to be more confident with how they communicate and how they talk, and very passionate with their speech. So having a lot of passion with their ideas or their beliefs that they're communicating about, these people are really going to have this strong presence, and they are going to be great at communicating in creative ways as well, because Leo is also about creativity. So being very creative writers, communicating in a creative way through writing or acting, amazing with this placement, because Leo is all about taking center stage, being the center of attention and shining, and Mercury is about communication. So that is a great thing for these people to do. Also, just really any form of creative expression is going to really be great for these people. They are going to be more stubborn and passionate with their views and their beliefs on things and how they communicate it, because Leo is a fixed sign. So any signs that are fixed are going to be more stubborn. So they could be more stubborn with their views on things and just have a lot of passion and conviction with how they talk. You're going to really feel how these people feel themselves about their views, their opinions. These people are just going to express themselves in a very passionate and heart-centered way, because Leo is all about the heart. So you're really going to feel their emotions when they talk. And they likely have a lot of charisma to them, and that's why they draw a lot of people in. So it's not going to be this aggressive way like an Aries. It's going to be more of this charisma and this charm that really draws people to them. So this could change depending on different placements in your chart. You could have a lot of other energy, like you could have your Mercury in the 12th house, which means that you don't want to talk to anyone and you just want to isolate. So it'll change depending on different aspects and positions, but just looking at this one specific aspect, this is what we will typically see. When we see someone with their Mercury in the sign of Virgo, this is a really great placement to have, because Mercury is exalted in the sign of Virgo. So when a planet is exalted in a certain sign, this means that the planet is able to operate in its highest powers. It's able to operate as it wants to and how it feels the most comfortable. So Mercury is the most comfortable being in the sign of Virgo. And this is because Virgo is really about the analytical mind, having that more rational approach to life and being very detail oriented, being all about routines and structure. And Mercury is about communication, your speech, and Mercury is the analytical mind and the logical mind and your preferred methods of learning. So with this placement, we'll see that these people will approach things and how they communicate in a more rational way. They will observe things from a more detached viewpoint. Like, they won't make decisions based off of their emotions. It will be based off of logic and their rational mind. So they will be very good at thinking things over, thinking about the most logical decision, communicating on that, and putting it out there and just being done. So when these people really get into conversations, they appreciate people who are direct. They are going to be direct. They are going to get to the point. They want to get to the point, get their feelings across, and just say it in a matter-of-fact way and have that be that. They are not going to communicate in a very dreamy and philosophical type of way, like a Sagittarius Mercury or a Pisces Mercury. They're going to be very straight to the point. They are going to really appreciate learning about things that have a lot of research backings. They want the proof, they want the logic, they want to research things to understand things better and find the logical answers and understanding to things, because that's how their mind is going to work. And you know, to other people who are more, have this creative mind and this more abstract approach to how they learn and communicate, this could be like a buzzkill. But to them, it's annoying when people are just dragging things out and taking forever to get their point across. They just want to get to the point and get rid of all of the unnecessary details and be more direct with how they approach their learning and communication. So that is the general feel of Mercury in the sign of Virgo. Of course, things could change depending on different, the house that your Mercury's in, or different aspects being made to Mercury that could change things. But just looking at this one particular position, this is what we will typically see. When we see someone with their Mercury in the sign of Libra, this person is typically going to be much more fair and balanced and open to other people's opinions within their conversations, within their relationships, how they communicate, because Libra is the sign of partnerships. It's the sign of others and relationships, whether that be romantic or friendships. It's the sign about equality and justice and harmony. These people really value harmony in their romantic relationships. And since this sign is coming into the planet Mercury, Mercury is all about your speech, communication, your preferred styles of learning. So with this placement, these people are going to communicate in a very fair way. They are going to be great listeners. They are going to listen to you just as much as they are going to speak themselves. So they're not going to dominate the conversation. They're going to be very fair. They're going to be very balanced. They want to keep the peace and harmony within their communications with others. They are not going to be people who are going to be extremely attached and stubborn to their viewpoints and beliefs. They are not going to be aggressive with how they communicate. These people are going to be very friendly, very charming, very open to hearing your position on different topics and your opinions. And they're going to be more changeable with their views, and they're almost going to feed off of other people to understand their own opinions, because they're not attached to their beliefs and their opinions and how they communicate. They really, really value harmony and peace within their relationships and how that communication goes. And they are going to be really put off by people who communicate in an extremely overly emotional way or an extremely aggressive way. Like an Aries Mercury is going to be very blunt and aggressive and really strong-minded with their views, and Libra Mercuries are not like that. They are really peacemakers. They want the peace, they want the harmony, and this is just, these people are usually very friendly when you talk to them, and just have a very light energy about them and how they communicate. And Libra is ruled by the planet Venus, and Venus is the planet of beauty. So they'll have this charm about how they speak and how they talk. They could have a really beautiful voice and have this beautiful way with words. So that is what we will typically see, but we have to consider the whole chart. This is just one position, one placement, so we have to consider everything. But when we're just talking about this one position in the chart, that's what we will typically see when someone has their Mercury in the sign of Libra. When we see the planet Mercury in the sign of Scorpio, these people are really going to want to communicate about deeper and darker subjects and topics, because Scorpio is all about death and transformation, rebirth, really having that deep transformative experience in life. And Scorpio is really all about things that are hidden, things that are buried, secrets, what is below the surface that most people don't feel comfortable talking about. Scorpio is about the human psyche, understanding the mind and how things work, and psychological issues. And Mercury is a planet all about communication, speech, your preferred method of learning, and your logical mind. So when we have the sign of Scorpio coming into the planet Mercury, these people are really going to have a deep interest in understanding the truths of life, really researching and understanding things that have been hidden, things that have been buried, really understanding different areas of life that most people don't talk about. This is why we will see these people really interested in psychology or understanding the human mind, psychological issues. They could have a fascination with death and horror types of things, like horror movies, and just understanding the non-physical areas of life. So they could have an interest in esoteric subjects. These people could make great detectives because they are all about uncovering the truth, uncovering secrets, what has been buried, what isn't being said, what people are trying to hide. They're really great at detecting that. And they're really not going to enjoy small talk or just talking for the sake of talking. These people typically are going to sit back and be more of those silent observers, to observe people around them and their environment and the situation that they're in, to see if they feel comfortable opening up and speaking about how they feel on things, because they are going to be more private with their opinions. They want to make sure that they can trust you, that they feel safe with you to communicate their ideas or how they feel, and then they will talk to you more. But they're not going to like small talk. They're really going to want to engage in deeper conversations and topics. So they will also have this mysterious energy with how they communicate that can really attract people and draw people in, and they don't even mean to do it. It's just they have this mystery to them because they have this darker energy because of their darker interests in life, and all of this depth to them, these layers, and because they're more of those silent observers, people could be always wondering what they're thinking and not really knowing. That is the general feel of Mercury in the sign of Scorpio, but of course we have to consider everything in the chart. We have to consider the house that Mercury's in, the aspects being made to Mercury, but this is just one specific placement in the chart. So when we're just talking about Mercury and Scorpio, this is what we'll typically see. When we see Mercury in the sign of Sagittarius, Sagittarius is the sign about higher education, learning and teaching, philosophy, travel, and really understanding the greater meaning and purpose of life. It is that philosopher type of person, that person who really wants to educate others and teach, learn through experiences. Sagittarius is the sign of abundance and optimism. And then Mercury is the planet of communication, your speech, your preferred method of learning, your logical mind. So when we have the sign of Sagittarius coming into the planet Mercury, this person is really going to want to communicate on philosophy and the greater meaning of life, the bigger purpose of life, and they are going to really have an interest in higher education, higher learning. They are really going to be passionate about that. They are going to be these never-ending learners. They always are wanting to expand their mind, and they want to communicate on what they have learned, and they want to teach. These are they are going to take an interest in higher education. So they are going to really want to teach others. They are really going to be passionate about what they've learned and their beliefs. They could come off as a bit preachy sometimes because they're so passionate about their beliefs, and they spend so much time trying to learn and uncover the truths of life that they are so passionate about it that they could come off as preachy to others. But they really just have this passion for teaching others and expressing what they have learned. These people are going to usually have an interest in religion or spirituality, areas that will help them to understand life better and understand the greater purpose of life and why we're here, and those sorts of subjects are going to be of great interest to them. These people are really going to learn a lot through travel. They are going to learn a lot from experiencing things firsthand, getting out from where they're from and where they live and traveling to different places to meet new people and learn through their experiences is going to be major for them. It will be something that they will likely do and that they will have an interest in usually. These people can be more stubborn with their views because they have spent so much time really learning and educating themselves that they have a lot of passion for their beliefs, and Sagittarius is a fire sign, so naturally very passionate. They could hold on a lot to their beliefs because they feel very passionate about it, and they could get into debates about their opinions. But it's not coming from a negative place, and usually after they have those sort of debates or heated conversations, they will reflect on it and they will get over it, and they'll be able to see your viewpoint as well. These people also have a lot of optimism, so when they're expressing themselves in their speech and when they're communicating, they'll communicate in a very optimistic way. So if someone is talking about something, they're talking about life, Sagittarius Mercury will usually be like, well, everything is just a lesson and it's all part of the journey and we're all learning and we're all growing, so it's just all part of the process. They're going to try to look at the brighter side of life, be more optimistic about things, and that's really going to come across in their speech. So that's basically the gist of Sagittarius Mercury. But of course we have to consider the whole chart. We have to consider the house that your Mercury's in, the aspects being made to your Mercury, because that could change things a bit. But in general, that is what we will typically see when someone has their Mercury in the sign of Sagittarius. With Mercury in the sign of Capricorn, Capricorn is a sign really about the public image, authority, career, that position of power. And Mercury is a planet all about communication, speech, the logical mind, and your preferred method of learning. So when we see someone with their Mercury in the sign of Capricorn, these people they're going to be more serious with how they communicate and how they get their point across. Because Capricorn is a very serious sign. It's an earth sign, and it's much more focused on the adult parts of life, really those practical parts of life. So these people can come across as definitely serious with how they communicate and how they talk. They are really going to probably want to be in a position of authority or power, and if not necessarily in their career, but they want to be respected when they talk. So they want to have this sort of authority with their speech. They want to be heard, they want their voice to be recognized, and they want to be respected for their views and when they talk, and they will have this powerful presence about them and how they communicate usually. And they could have an interest in the government and just authority figures in general, because that's what Capricorn is about positions of power and authority. So that could be an interest of theirs. they are likely to really think about things before they speak on them. They're not going to be extremely impulsive with how they communicate. They're not going to be like a fire sign, a position of Mercury that's in a fire sign, which is more passionate and impulsive. They're going to be more composed, more rational. They're going to really think about what they want to say before they say it. And they don't really enjoy people who communicate in a very emotional way. That is a turnoff to them usually, because they are more composed with their emotions and how they communicate their emotions. So they're usually going to be more level-headed, more disciplined and structured with their approach to learning, and more serious, and have this powerful presence with how they communicate. But of course, we have to look at the entire chart. We have to look at what house your Mercury is in and any aspects being made to your Mercury in order to get the full picture. We are just looking at one tiny placement in the chart, so we have to keep that in mind. But typically, just on a surface level, this is what we will usually see with this placement. When we see the planet Mercury in the sign of Aquarius, Aquarius is a sign that's all about friendships, your hopes and wishes, humanitarian efforts, the collective, group efforts. And Mercury is a planet all about communication, your speech, your logical mind, and your preferred method of learning. So with this position, we can see someone who really has a unique way of communicating, because Aquarius is about unconventional ideas as well. Aquarius is about really going against the norm in society. They're really about individuality, being unique, and having their own thoughts, and not going along with whatever is currently trendy, or what society tells you to do. So these are going to be free thinkers. These people are typically very intelligent. They are going to think for themselves, and they are going to communicate in a way where you could get in some interesting conversations with these people. These people could be really interested in out there types of concepts like conspiracy theories, and just topics that are not the norm. So these people are usually not going to be up in your face and just trying to get your attention and talk 24/7 like a Gemini Mercury, but they're gonna have more of a laid back approach usually with how they communicate. But when you do get into a conversation with these people, it'll be a very interesting conversation, and they could really enjoy debating. They could really enjoy debating just to as a way to stimulate their mind, because Aquarius is usually they're usually very intelligent, so they will like to have that back and forth. And because Aquarius is a fixed signs are more stubborn, so they could really enjoy debating, and it would be for fun for them. They would really enjoy getting into a debate and more of that type of dynamic for fun, for their own enjoyment. These people will also likely have an interest in the greater good of society in some way, and communicating their opinions about society, not usually agreeing with like I said, the status quo, how society is running, and wanting to readjust things, and speaking out on social issues a lot of the time, having an interest in humanitarian efforts in ways that they can really help the collective, because Aquarius is about others. It's about the collective. It's really it's not an energy of the self. So that will be an interest for them usually as well. So that's basically the feel of Mercury in the sign of Aquarius. So we also have to remember that we have to consider all aspects of the chart. So the house that Mercury is in, as well as the other aspects being made to your Mercury. But when we're just looking at this one particular position, this is what we will typically see with Mercury in the sign of Aquarius. With Mercury in the sign of Pisces, Pisces is the sign about spirituality, imagination, fantasy, illusion, the unconscious mind, what is not physically seen, healing, and really it is a quite different energy than the energy of Mercury, because Mercury is about communication, speech, the logical mind, the more rational mind, preferred methods of learning. So when we take Mercury, the planet Mercury, the planet of the logical, more analytical mind, with the sign of Pisces, imagination, fantasy, these two energies they don't go together. They are not similar. So Mercury is actually debilitated in the sign of Pisces. With every planet, there is a specific sign where that planet is exalted in, able to function in its highest powers, able to really function in the way that it wants. And there is a sign where that planet is debilitated in. It's in a weaker state because it's not able to really function in the way that it wants to. So that's what we see with Mercury in the sign of Pisces. So these people could maybe find it more difficult to communicate how they're feeling or what they're thinking, maybe out of a fear of judgment or just not feeling understood in some way, or just in whatever way finding it more difficult to communicate what they're thinking or how they're feeling, because Pisces is the sign of escapism and isolation. And it's the unconscious mind, so maybe not fully understanding how they're feeling or what they're thinking in that current moment to be able to communicate it in a direct way. These people are going to have an interest in the arts, though, usually, and have this creative, imaginative mind, which is something that they're going to really thrive in. Really having an interest in the arts, maybe music, poetry, those types of areas. Or they could have a strong interest in spirituality, because Pisces is about spirituality, the unseen, the unconscious mind, understanding and having an interest in those esoteric types of subjects. So we could find that as well. These people will typically be more shy, though, more to themselves. They could, similar to Mercury in Cancer, they could maybe hold resentment towards people who don't understand them, or since they're typically more passive with their approach to how they communicate and express themselves, maybe feeling like they're not understood, because Pisces is a very these people are naturally feelers. They are very, they're empaths, this energy of being able to feel the energies instead of having to say it. So they could really get frustrated when people don't just automatically know how they feel or what they're thinking, because it seems obvious to them, because they have those abilities and they're able to just understand the energies of people and almost know what people are thinking without them having to say it. So they could get frustrated with people who don't understand those deeper layers of them, without having them to really fully communicate and voice every single part of how they're feeling or what they're thinking. So that's something that could happen as well. But we have to look at every aspect of the chart. We have to look at the house that the Mercury's in, any aspects being made to Mercury, to really understand this on a deeper level. This is just one small position in the chart, so this could change a lot depending on the other aspects in your chart. But just looking at this one placement, this is usually what the kind of things that we'll tend to see. Okay, so that is the placement of all 12 of the signs that your Mercury could be in. Leave a comment down below what sign your Mercury is in and how it relates to you in your own life. I hope that you learned something today, and I would love to hear your feedback, have a conversation with you about the planet Mercury, or just more about your placement and how it really manifests for you in your own life. So thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in my next video.